Now you should hear some audio. I didn't have the mics turned on yet because it wasn't quite time, but got somebody coming in. Mr. T. Mr. T will not be with us tonight. He is under the weather. His knee is acting up on him. And you want to close that door so we can save the hit?
There you go.
Yeah, go ahead and latch it. Yeah, I gotta call the doctors again tomorrow. Mom has gone back into her state. We saw her last night. She was doing good, right?
Fairly.
Gone.
Back to.
This is only a few hours. It just ain't working. It just ain't working.
No, it's not.
And, so.
When you grabbed the microphone, like you meant.
No. Emmy was on there, and she said, "Good video, but no sound." And I was signaling to her that I hadn't turned the mics on yet. So now I got them turned on. How's the sound now?
Hello.
Hi. Hi, y'all. It was a fairly slow week on news. Okay, we work it. Okay, sound is good. Hi, Scott.
Hello, Daryl.
That's Emmy. Emmy said
hi, Emmy. How are you, dear?
Yeah. So as I was saying, Mr. T called me this afternoon about 3 o'clock, and his left knee, the one he had the surgery on, and then he got an infection in, then got infection in the second time, then had it operated on the second time, or the fourth time, is acting up a little bit, plus he got a, God damn it, he got a house full of company today, so.
That seems kind of, what time did he call you?
About 2 o'clock, 3.
Well, he called me about 3:30 and asked if I wanted to go to the nudie bar, so you may want to...
Hey, Mr. T, what kind of, I thought you said it was your left knee, or did you say your weenie?
Well, one of the knees.
One of the knees. Anyway, I since he's not here, I'm partaking a smoke of a pipe. But I put it down to get everything started, so I imagine it's probably out now. Yep.
It's out.
I want people to know this is the first corncob pipe that I ever bought. And that was back in 1986.
Well, you're not an avid pipe smoker, so that would...
Well, that's back when we made things.
Yeah. I always thought the corncob pipe that MacArthur used was just absurd, how big and weird it was.
Yeah, it was a whole cob with a 12-inch pipe on it, yeah.
I'm getting a lot of it was more out of
exaggeration.
Exaggeration, just being...
It's a 4-star general, so I'm going to make everybody remember me.
He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah. His nickname, don't worry about the dog. If you let her in, just lock the door behind her because Mom's in bed, so she probably won't let her out.
So I take it you didn't go up to the mountains today?
Nope. No, I couldn't get out.
Did Daryl go up?
No.
He was sick.
He was sick. Bones never called me, so I assume he never went. In fact, give him a call on your phone there.
I don't have his number.
814 573.
573 is local, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. 9890. See if he answers. If you leave a message, excuse me, folks, I want to light up.
Hello, young Randall. This is Scott. How are you? You- Oh, I'm alright. The old man wanted me to call you, so I'm gonna put him on the phone.
No, I just wanted to,
Oh.
rag him about where is he?
Yeah, he wants to rag you as to where you at. I don't know. You talk to him.
Hey, where you be? We're running a show here. I just wondered what happened to you.
Well, I'm sitting here. Was I supposed to come out?
Well, yeah, you were supposed to come out. Don't you remember nothing?
I guess not. I don't remember talking about coming to the show.
Well, I think we're going to get a hold of a brain transplant for you. I know of a gorilla that just died, so maybe you'll be a little smarter.
Oh, boy.
Anyway,
Oh, boy.
if you want to come out, come out. If not, that's all right, because Mr. T's not going to make it, so I just wanted somebody to help me with the second hour, because Scotty usually only stays for about the first hour or so. So,
Right.
okay, we're on here live, so do whatever you're going to do. We'll talk at you when you get here, if you come out. Bye.
Okay.
Bye, Randall.
So, anyway, somebody here, Jack Flash, we're supposed to get a little, but nothing like a blizzard. Somebody says, yeah, there's a nasty storm supposed to hit here. Supposed to be hit here sometime Tuesday or Wednesday. And, oh damn it, my pipe went out. Well, I guess that's the end of that. So, I can't do that. You don't want to stay going. That's how long it's been since I know how to pack it. It's a good thing it's not a muzzle loader. Anyway, yeah, Thanksgiving Day around here might be a little bit on the touchy side, but I too haven't heard anything about any major amounts, although maybe northwest of us it might get a little hairy up around Michigan and that, but who knows? Mother Nature has a tendency to throw the weatherman a curve and not do what they expect her to do.
Yeah, Mother Nature has a way.
So anyway, guys, I see we're up to at least 7 out there now listening. That's good. No gun shows till December now, and it'll be the 14th and 15th up at Harbor Creek, at the Harbor Creek Fire Hall, and that's on Route 20 in Harbor Creek, which is about 10 miles east of Erie, PA. So, if you are listening and so desire, why, come on up to the gun show up there, and I will be there, even though it is the last day of deer season. If I haven't gotten my 3 deer by then, I'm going to be well, I won't be that unhappiest, because I still have muzzleloader and I still have archery that I can use to shoot. Plus, I have 3 tags total. 1 buck, 2 doe. So we'll see if I can get a whole buck and and make some dough. Anyway,
I think hunting is bad.
well, it is bad, but it's fun.
You shouldn't kill animals for your own gratification.
I'm not doing it for my gratification. I'm doing it to put meat on the table that I can't afford to buy at the grocery store.
Well, that's just terrible.
Mhm.
Terrible.
I know.
But our ancestors never would have done that.
Yeah, it all comes from Europe, preserved. Well, they just went down to the supermarket and bought it. You know, they didn't have no.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't want to get onto those clowns, but society has gone so stupid, and like I said, the news is a little on the light side because of the impeachment hearings and who said what and where did you hear it and how many toilets down in a row of 20 toilets did you hear it, you know? So, you know, one thing that bothers me about this whole thing, these people in the State Department are saying that he was going against, what is that?
protocol?
Against standing protocol. Okay? Well, let me stop and think here. Since the president is commander-in-chief of the military, and he is also the commander or in charge of running our government and seeing to our safety, isn't it up to him to set the protocol? He gets advice from the military as to what should be done, or from the intelligence agencies as to what should be done. But if he doesn't want to do that, that is his call. That is not the call of the underlings. So, and of course, it depends on depends on who the underling is under.
Under which ling?
Yeah. Okay.
The problem I have with everything right now is from a right wing or a conservative news site, you get one side of the story. From CNN, you get another side of the story, and they often contradict one another. You know, I don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, it is hard. It is. I agree with you. It is hard
It's-
to believe what's going on. And I look at it this way. This may help clear things up. Whatever is going on, it's all politics.
Very
Okay.
much so.
And it's all a way of keeping you distracted while something nasty is coming down the pipe.
Very much so.
So that's the way I look at it. I'm watching what's going on, but I'm keeping my hand on my hip pocket. My pocket knife is nice and warm and sharp.
I brought over some whiskey last night, so I'm sure it's nice and sterilized.
I wouldn't waste good whiskey on washing blood off my knife. It's a stainless steel blade. It's not supposed to rust.
Yeah. But the acidity of the cowardly blood that's out there would probably eat that up in a minute.
Well, if it does, I got a whole box full more.
Yes, you do. You certainly do. On other news, I saw, I don't have cable television, so I don't watch much news. But come to find out, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was in the hospital this week.
Oh yeah, again?
Yeah, again, apparently she had some sort of fever and chills and yada yada yada, and they basically did a preemptive strike and put her in the hospital for a couple of days, gave her IV antibiotics and fluids. Working in the nursing field and dealing with a lot of the older people, especially women, those poor gals can get a UTI. Sneeze sideways and boom, you got a UTI. The female plumbing system, intelligent design my ass, got screwed up when he plumbed the woman, because things just are too close to one another. So I'm wondering if that's why she was, in for a couple of days, got some IV, and she was released to her home.
Oh, well.
And like one of the people that posted in the comments is like, yeah, to her home, which is an off-site ICU unit.
Yeah.
I've never seen the inside of her house.
Defibrillator, heart-lung machine.
I mean, the woman's 86 years old. I work with, people much younger, in their 70s, and their capacities are, it declines.
Well, she should have, but then again, her mind has been probably so affected by her illnesses that she can't think, but she should have retired on her own. Now, because of her age and her health conditions, she should be removed from office, and that can be done because she is no longer able to
Function in her capacity. Some of the things that were brought up in I always read the comments section, and this hadn't dawned on me. A lot of things don't. I'm not the smartest or sharpest tool in the shed, but the one guy was postulating, or maybe it was a girl, but the one person was postulating that the only reason she stayed in as long as she has was she expected Hillary to win, then she could step down in the big liberal way, and then Hillary could get another liberal.
Instead of Trump getting 2 or 3 or maybe 4, Hildebeest would get it.
Yes.
And then we'd be top dog screwed.
And now that she's seeing that Trump is, possibly, if he doesn't get impeached and yada yada yada, his polling numbers are through the roof. If she tries to step down now, her own party will vilify her. So at least I'm sure that's what her handlers are telling her. If she's incapacitated to any degree, I doubt she has the wherewithal to think along those schemy political lines without somebody pointing her in the right direction. But then again, maybe she's just a magnificent 80-some-year-old woman that has dynamic personality, and I don't know.
Well, she's dynamic, all right.
She looks like Skeletor or something.
Yeah.
The Crypt Keeper from the old Tales from the Crypt TV show, remember back in the day?
I was thinking she was a fossil from the Prehistoric age.
Something.
So,
The Browns and the Steelers both won today.
yeah, I watched the Squealers win. They had to take Rudolph out.
That's what, I didn't see it, but of course my Facebook Pittsburgh peeps were all buzzed.
Yeah, well, I think, based on what I've been able to hear, that the Cleveland Brown dude who pulled his helmet off and beat Rudolph in the head with it,
Garrett, is that his name?
yeah, Garrett or whatever, claimed that Rudolph made a racial slur when he was being tackled.
Even still, you don't beat somebody in the head with a helmet.
Well, that's right, but the fact of the matter is, going through all the videotapes and sound recordings of all this stuff, plus the guys are on the field, there was no racial slur.
Yep.
He was using that as a scapegoat for what he did to try and get back in the good graces of the NFL. Unfortunately, Rudolph took it personally, and I think it got into his mind, and he was not able to focus like he should.
And he was, second string quarterback anyhow.
Yeah, but he was doing pretty good. But that first half, he just wasn't doing it, so they pulled.
His head wasn't in the game, as they say.
Yeah, that's what they were. That's what they were saying. His head was not there. He was distracted by, and if you really want to know the truth, that's probably why Fucknut did it.
Throw him off his game.
Yeah, throw him off his game so that they would lose a few games and it would allow Cleveland maybe to sneak into the playoffs even though he couldn't play.
Gotcha.
Okay? I don't put it past any of these assholes to pull stupid stuff like that.
And once again,
If you can't win by doing it the right way, well, we'll cheat and hopefully don't get caught. Patriots.
Mr. Brady.
Oh boy, we're up to 10, but there's not a lot of chat going on, except that when we were talking about Ginsburg, there's a bunch on there that said, yeah, she's got to go. Where the heck's all this going to? Maybe I'm down too far. No, okay.
According to Braveheart, since we're talking about sports, no NFL teams call Kaepernick since workout. Apparently he's trying to set up another one to...
Well, if you don't show up for the first one or postpone it at the last minute,
Yeah.
He's a prima donna.
Oh, it's a shame. It's a game that people put their heart and soul into, and
Well, it's just like Antonio Brown this week. Not that I don't follow sports, but when I'm doing
it
my
comes
research,
up,
it comes up when I'm doing my research. He's claiming that he did not attempt to rape that girl, that it was mutual consent, but she's only saying that to ruin his reputation and career.
I think he's done a fine enough job of that himself.
Yeah. So anyway.
Like a lot of people have said, since that one hit, a couple of years ago by Burfict, I guess he hit him in the head pretty good. A lot of people, and this is no defense of anything that Antonio Brown has said or done, just a lot of people are saying that he's probably suffering from that CTE, the concussion stuff, because he's just, I mean, ever since then, he's been off the rails. He hasn't made good life choices. Hasn't made good professional choices. And that's what it is.
I think I was remarking to you last night when you were over that part of the reason they may have come down so hard on McGarrett was in a game earlier this season. I forget who the two teams were, but one of the players took his helmet off and swung and hit the player's helmet on the jaw on the opposite team, okay?
Okay.
And so I think the NFL saw that first time, nothing much happened, okay? But then when I saw this happen the second time, then maybe they decided they better come down hard to put a stop to it.
I'm sure, you know, with all the internal memos amongst teams and this, that, and the other, the NFL probably put out, this shit happens again, heads are gonna roll, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure that had to have been played into it, because they really did, you know, hold this guy to task.
Yeah, it's at times they are guilty of unsportsmanlike conduct, Jack. But there's so far that you go on unsportsmanlike conduct, and when you start to try and deliberately inflict bodily injury to somebody's head, that's going beyond sportsmanlike conduct. Because after all, if you punch a guy in the chest with all the pads on, who's going to get hurt? You're going to hurt your hand, okay? But when the guy's helmet is off and you hit him in the head with a helmet, who's going to get hurt? The head or the helmet, okay?
That reminds me of my own limited high school football experience. I was on the team, I did never play. One of the things that Coach Achenbach always said is never take your helmet off while you're on the field. Never, ever, 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 ever. Well, I think...
Well, that's supposed to be the rule in the...
Yeah, I mean, but just, he's like, you know, if you can keep it on, keep it on. And that was always the mantra. Well, I remember very vividly, it was the year that Meadville was really kicking ass. It was the 86, 87 season, 87, 88, whichever. No, it would have been 86, 87. And Meadville was just going through and just beating everybody mercilessly. And, you know, at the end of the game, you just go by, good game, good game. And, well, the one, mind you, the guy on our team was being kind of mouthy. And so he mouthed off to one of the other players, and the guy hauled off and punched him right in the face mask. And he come walking back, and the coach's like, well, what happened? He's like, oh, you're right, coach, you should never take your helmet off. And he just goes trotting off. But yeah, it was just kind of funny, it reminded me.
Yeah, but, you know, these guys, and I've said this before, these guys are supposed to be professionals now.
Set the standards.
Okay, and they're supposed to be professional standards that are set. And they actually play more like a bunch of street brawlers than an organized professional sport. And I played when I was in school, young kid and in grade school, and we played a lot of football. It wasn't flag football either, it was tackle, but nobody had helmets, nobody had shoulder pads, it was just out and out, run down, grab the son of a bitch, and go on the ground.
And a lot of times it was skins and shirts.
Yeah.
Shirts and skins.
Yeah, okay. And, but there was a lot of times, things got a little crazy, so then everybody broke up, called the game off, and everybody broke up and didn't play for a couple weeks, and after everybody got tired of being homebound, they all got together and started all over again. But yeah, there's quite a different, there should be quite a different tolerance level for, I'm calling it tolerance level. There should be a different expectation level of the pros when they're out there performing in large audiences, because not only are they performing between 50 to 80,000 people in the stand, but how many millions of people throughout the world that are watching the game? And if you promote violence, how does that not help promote more violence? And,
Well, considering, you always hear about these hard case stories where, Johnny Smith was raised on the streets and he got a scholarship and went to college and now he's in the pros. You hear about that a lot, and there's a lot of people that come from pretty rough circumstances. And then also you hear, I'm kind of going on a tangent, about the piss poor education that these guys got and the crap they got away with because they were the star athlete.
yep.
They brought the school fans. They brought the school money once they got into college. They were idolized. Now they're making millions of dollars for their team ownership. So it's a perpetuation. If you're going to let bad behavior go, violence begets violence. Evil begets evil.
And and I have to make this statement. The National Football League, or the NFL, has been having declining TV audiences for the last several years, and I have to think that it's because of the prima donna attitude that is striking so many of the professional football players, plus the fact, and I know a lot of people try to make little of it, but them getting out there and doing some kind of demonstration against the general public, actually, because of, well, the biggest one was because of so-called police brutality to a certain race of people. Well, my philosophy is, if you don't do the crime, then you don't do the time. You don't have to do time. If you behave like an asshole, you're going to get treated like an asshole. Okay? And if you're running down the street with a sharp object in your hand, whether it be a knife, a screwdriver, or a gun, okay, and the police are chasing you, and you're too stupid to stop, and you get a bullet in the back of the head, you ask for it. Okay, now I have to admit there are times when police have shot people that had no weapons. And that's the problem the police departments have to deal with because of, in that particular case, probably improper training, or the guy that was the police officer involved was not mentally right. Okay? Because there's too many of them out there that can't wait to get that first notch on their gun.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And but that's where the police departments have to come in and straighten things out. Don't put them on administrative leave. With pay, you fire his ass right now. Boom, out the door you go. Then you investigate to see if there's charges that should be brought against him because of whatever. Just like that girl that was shot here in the last couple of weeks at home. The police come up because they heard they had a call for a disturbance.
I'm not familiar with this one.
Yeah, well, I can't remember the town, but it was a black girl, and she had just gotten home from work, I do believe, and the police came up and they saw her inside the apartment, looked in her window and saw her doing things inside there, so they went to the door thinking that she was a burglar. And they banged on the door and identified themselves as the police. She came over to open the door and they shot her. Because they claimed she had something in her hand, turns out.
That's a little bit of overzealous.
Well, it is, and it happens a lot. And but the reason that happens is improper training. I don't care what people say, it's improper training and not enough psychological analyzation of the recruit to weed out that mentality beforehand. And
well, so many of the police out there, and this is a very general statement, but there's with many exceptions, obviously, but there's so many of the cops were bullies growing up. They were the big guy and they could push people around and they just continue it. Or they were the ones that were bullied,
Yep.
and now they're getting their due.
Payback. Yeah, we'll get a job as a police, we can get our payback. And the only problem is they're not getting the payback to the right person. They're giving it to whoever happens to be crossing their path at the time.
Yep.
And, but don't get me wrong, folks, I'm not a bleeding heart. I believe that when you commit a crime, especially a violent crime, and you try to resist apprehension, then they're going to use whatever amount of violence they need to apprehend you. Now, one thing I don't believe in, and I don't care what kind of circumstances, I do not believe in high-speed chases. Okay?
Yeah, it's just absurd.
Okay, because when they're going after somebody, let's start with a car thief. They're going after a guy that stole a car. Okay, they know the plate number of the car. Okay, that's it. We'll get the car back. We'll get the guy next time. Okay, sooner or later you're going to catch the guy, and you're going to get him. Okay, now. Somebody who's runs a red light and the cops go after him and decides not to stop, okay, and just keeps on going. When the cops get close enough to read his license plate number, that's it. Go put a stakeout car at his house, and shortly he will show up, and you're not endangering the general public. You're not endangering a person who may have panicked in a mode because whatever. Plus you're not endangering the police officer. Plus you're not going to cause collateral damage of how many cars get smashed while the guy's trying to get away. Guy or girl trying to get away.
You can't outrun technology, folks.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
Once they get the identity of your license plate number, that's it. Go stake out his house or his apartment, and or her. I shouldn't say him or her. Go get him there. And as far as these other things, you know, the people set up MOSs, okay? And they have the particular pattern they follow no matter how often they commit a crime. They have this pattern of what they do. That's how police catch them. And by reading their mode of operation, okay? They are able then to start predicting where he's liable to hit, and then they can also start predicting when he's going to hit and who he's going to hit, okay? So, they can get the guy, but they just have to go, once they start doing what they have the technology to do, use the technology they have, there shouldn't be any of this.
But there's been so many TV shows that these
Oh,
cops
well,
have
yeah.
watched, and there's just,
Cars driving down the highway, they smash into another car and the car blows up. They shoot him in the front end with the radiator and the car blows up. Okay? And then you see him driving a car down the road and the car flips over 10 or 20 times. Bing, 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 bing. And then the guy gets out and walks away. Maybe reaches in and get his hat.
yeah.
But yeah, Hollywood is Hollywood is part of the problem, not the whole problem. Part of the problem. Our educational system is part of the problem, but not the whole problem. And here's a guy. It must be a new one. Hello, me doogies. I thought for a minute you all saw me here silently lurking when you said, "Hi, Joe." Well, I was actually posting pointers on LTR Discord chat to come here and join us since 6 p.m. Well, I hope it works, okay? Liberty Tree Radio and I have been pals for a long time. We have lost our ability for Mark's boy,
Huh?
Mark's boy runs Liberty Free Radio for Mark. Eric? No, not it. Anyway, we have lost the ability to get our broadcast in because we're on YouTube, and I have been desperately checking to see if I can find a place where we can get a free radio streaming thing like we did once before, and then maybe we can tell him where it's at, and then go, Ed, that's it, Ed. I told you it wasn't Eric. So anyway, thank you for that. That was Jack Flash, Jack, up there in Cleveland. So anyway, now, being that we covered a bunch of bullshit from crime, NFL to crime, and all that kind of crap, let's get to some serious stuff here, and then we got some more lighthearted stuff later. George Soros. Anybody remember that name? A name from the past? Name from the present? Probably one of the last major Nazi members of the Nazi Party from Hitler days. Soros' dark money behind ads urging Republicans to impeach Trump. This is off of WorldNet Daily, and I pulled this up, when did I pull this up? On the 23rd, which was yesterday. A multi-million-dollar ad blitz that features, military veterans urging vulnerable Republicans to swing districts to support the impeachment inquiry into President Trump. It is funded by the progressive dark money group backed by billionaire left-wing activist George Soros, Nazi.
That dude's creepy.
Yeah. The ads were scheduled to air this week on Fox and Friends, a favorite show of the president in the Washington, D.C. market, and in 13 Republican-held congressional districts, the Daily Caller News Foundation reported. So they're not targeting everybody, just the ones that were closely contested or whatever. Military veterans in the ads urged Republican representatives to point out our politics by holding Trump accountable for abusing his office and risking national security for his own gain. Dark money refers to political spending by nonprofits that are not required to disclose their donors. The Daily Caller said the ad disclosed they're paid for by group Defend American Democracy. But D.C. business registration documents reveal the group is one of the many projects of the 1630 Fund, a dark money nonprofit that received $4.5 million from Soros Open Society Policy Center between 2012 and 2017, according to Open Secrets. The 1630 Fund reported received $52 million from a single anonymous donor in 2018, but as a 501c4 nonprofit, the Daily Caller noted it was not required to disclose the identity of the donor. That was probably Obama. No, I have nothing to base that on, folks. Just a blip of opinion. Robert McGuire, a research director for the liberal watchdog Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, told Politico the 1630 Fund is one of the few dark money funds that has gone into the 100 million plus range. The 1630 Fund best known project is Demand Justice, which spearheads opposition to the Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh confirmation in 2018. I A nonprofit fund by Soros and the State Department in Ukraine and Anti-Corruption Action Center has become part of the impeachment story. Investigative reporter John Solomon reported 2 witnesses who testified for the Democrats in public impeachment hearings last week pressed Ukraine to drop its investigation of the group. Okay, George Kent, the charge d'affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, requested a letter to the Ukrainian General Prosecutor's Office in April of 2016. That its prosecution of the Anti-Corrupt Action Center be dropped, Solomon said. A few months later, Ukraine's new Attorney General Prosecutor Yuri Lustinov said the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yakovlevich, asked him not to prosecute the Anti-Corruption Action Center group, among other groups. Solomon on Friday stood by his reporting despite denials by Democrat witnesses, including Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vidman, a National Security Council official. Solomon wrote that Ukraine officials told him U.S. diplomats implied the message to the Ukraine prosecutor was clear. Don't target the Anti-Corruption Action Center in the middle of the American presidential election in which Soros was backing Hillary Clinton to succeed another Soros favorite, Obama. We ran right into a buzzsaw and we got bloodied, a senior Ukrainian official told Solomon. The Ukrainian officials saw it as an unusual intervention. We're not normally in the business of telling a country's police force who they can and can't pursue, unless it involves an American citizen we think is wrongfully accused, one official said. Solomon reported that ultimately no action was taken against the Soros group and it remains thriving today. So, there you have it. Did you hear the key names that were mentioned in here? So, Obama, Hildebeest, and Soros. If you get those three together, and anything that they say,
Take it with a grain of salt.
yeah, use some toilet paper. So, anyway,
There is so much.
that's okay. Thank you, G.I. Joseph. I will, better than emailing him, I will give him a call. I think I have his number. If I don't, I can get his number. Because I'm not in constant contact with his dad, but I occasionally talk to him on the phone. So, I will do that. Thank you for that piece of advice. I will probably try to do that the next 3 days, even though next Sunday, remember folks, next Sunday we won't have a show because I'm hoping to be up in the mountains, running naked through the woods, running in the woods, chasing a deer with a knife in my mouth. And okay. Anything you want to say about that story I said?
Yeah, it's just there's so much corruption surrounding Soros, and he's got his fingers in so many deep pockets that how anybody can take anything that this guy or anything that he's even remotely attached to serious. It's just, it boggles the mind.
Well, it's the same way with the guy, the pervert. Epstein. Just the same way with with him, with the number of people that he's been in contact with and that visited his island on more than one occasion. Okay.
Bill Clinton 26 times.
Yeah. And
well, he flew with him 26 documented times. Whether he went to his island 26 times, it's unconfirmed. That man did not kill himself. Jeffrey Epstein did not.
No, it's his.
If he did take his own life, It was facilitated in some way.
Yeah. That's why the two guards that are on duty are facing charges.
Yep, falsifying records. Like, how do you think you're gonna get away with any of this nonsense with today's technology?
You are the only two there, and he's the only one in the cell block or in the cell that you're watching. Okay? Now wait a minute, there was another guy in there, wasn't there?
I'm not even sure at this point.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I think at the first story there showed he had a cellmate. Okay? If Soros committed suicide, it was with the help of his cellmate.
Epstein.
Yeah, Epstein. Well, I'm thinking right, just wrong name. So, I do want to remind people that if you want to know how Soros started building his millions, during World War II, Soros is of Jewish by nature. He saved his skin from going to the gas chambers by working with the Nazis in rooting out and reporting his own people to the Gestapo, in which case he got paid X numbers of dollars or not marks, and maybe even got the gold teeth that they had, I don't know, but he had put it overseas in Switzerland. Yeah, Switzerland, in the Swiss bank. That's how he got a start on his money. And I can't believe God let that creep live this long, but anyway. Anyway, I saw you want to do this for me?
Well, I noticed that there was another Soros-related story, so I will...
Oh, I didn't realize I had it.
Got his picture on it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Hey, I got too much going on at home, if you know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. I'll just give it a read.
Yeah, give it a read.
Okay, the title of the story is Giuliani Explains Massive Pay-for-Play Soros Ukraine Scheme Facilitated by U.S. Diplomats. Okay, Rudy Giuliani claims that U.S. diplomats have been acting to further the interests of billionaire George Soros in Ukraine in what he described as a massive pay-for-play scheme which included falsifying evidence against President Trump. The Anti-Corruption Bureau is a contradiction, Giuliani told Glenn Beck, regarding Ukraine's National Anti-Corruption Bureau, also known as the NABU, which Joe Biden helped establish when he was the Obama administration's point man on Ukraine, which he brags about pretty regularly. As a bit of background, in December of 2018, a Ukrainian court ruled the NABU director, Artem Sitnik, acted illegally when he revealed the existence of Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort's name to journalist and politician Serhiy Lyshenko in a black ledger containing off-book payments to Manafort by Ukraine's previous administration. The ruling against Sitnik and Lyshenko was later overturned on a technicality. In December, the Blaze obtained audio of Sitnik bragging about helping Hillary Clinton in the 2016 U.S. election. And he's quoted as saying, "They took all the corruption cases away from the prosecutor general, they gave it to the Anti-Corruption Bureau, and they got rid of all the cases that offended Soros. And they included all the cases against Soros' enemies," Giuliani told Beck. Okay. The Soros connection, bum bum bum.
No, there ain't no such thing.
On the one of the first cases they dismissed was a case in which his, meaning Soros' NGO, ANTAC, A-N-T-A-C, was supposed to have embezzled a lot of money, but not only that, collected dirty information on Republicans to be transmitted, gotten by Ukrainians to be transmitted to this woman, Alexandra Chalupa, and other people who worked for the Democratic National Committee, Giuliani continued. The first case that former prosecutor Yuri Lutsenko tanked was that case at the request of the ambassador he had. Elsewhere in the interview, Giuliani described his reaction when he discovered the Ukrainian collusion that undermined the accusation of the Democrats made against the president. "Hallelujah, I now have what a defense lawyer always wants. I can go prove somebody else committed this crime, Giuliani said. Giuliani explained to Beck that he had gone to Ukraine seeking exculpatory evidence, that which would exonerate his client, the president, in the special counsel Robert Mueller investigation. When Giuliani was asked directly about the identity of the whistleblower, he said that he could not speak about the matter publicly and could not indicate if he knew the identity or not. He also claimed that there were several prosecutors in Ukraine currently who were willing to testify about the collusion, but they were being blocked by the U.S. State Department. When prompted by Beck, he said he would provide for him the names of those individuals off air. The case is a massive pay-for-play, multi-million-dollar scheme. It is an absolute travesty of justice, Giuliani said. There you go. So there's all kinds of people within the Ukrainian anti-justice league.
One of the chats here is that I lost it. Anyway, Ukrainians are fed up with communism and corruption.
I hope so.
And
They lived under that crap for how many years? How many decades?
yeah, 70 years or better. I mean, last year was the 75th anniversary of the invasion of Normandy. So, yeah, it's been close to 50, 60, it's almost 70 years. So, yeah, I understand where they're coming from, and the sad part is Ukrainians came here to get away from that, and unfortunately they came to a country that is falling down that same trail to communism. And I remember telling the story several times over the year, but I'll tell it again. One day Mike and I were at a gun show up at Harbor Creek at the fire hall. We stopped at a truck stop restaurant for breakfast. And at that time I was wearing my, what do they call that, a bear hat, Russian bear hat with the communist emblem on the front, and a long trench coat. And the lady that was working on us, she says, "You guys aren't from over there, are you?" And we said, "No, ma'am, we're just doing this to make people in this country aware of what's happening." She says, "Well, it was starting to scare me because I left my country. She may have told me what it was, but I can't remember. I left my home country to come here to get away from that." And she says the sad part of it is, it's following me here. And so...
You hear that a lot from people that have emigrated, left the former communist Soviet bloc countries that say, you know, you people don't know how bad it was over there. You want to bring that crap here?
Here. How about 102 years since 1917, when the communists took over in Mother of Russia. So they drug down a couple other countries at the same time. And, well, yeah, I was going to make a comment about that. Heard the Queen Mum disinvited the little Prince Andrew from some events, follow his unsuccessful interview to save his face. Well, I have saw something else, an update today, that he has been asked to move out of Buckingham Palace.
Oh boy. Isn't Prince Andrew part of the... Didn't his name come up in the whole...
No, yeah, he came up on it. I'm talking about the other one, the older one. The one that was playing with Epstein in his voice.
And that's what I was wondering, if that's the same one you're talking about.
So, now the whole thing is starting to take shape that the Epstein thing was infected infested into big name people, the Holy Family. They're not the Holy Family, but the royalty of England, the rich bastards here in the United States, and rich influential people throughout the world have the spotlight shining on them for their child molestation.
Yes.
Okay, criminal activity. And that's why if Epstein was really killed or died, suicided,
Mm-hmm.
it was because too many people had too many names, and they offed him to keep the information from coming out. But apparently, from the way things are starting to break and sneak out, he must have had information stuck other place
Oh, yeah, certainly.
to protect his identity. Okay, to protect himself against this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was watching a podcast here the other day, and the podcaster was commenting on how when Epstein was investigated the first time, when he was actually convicted of some sort of child pornography or some sort of child endangerment, where he was designated a pederast, one of the investigators was told to back off. He's part intelligence, or he's amongst the intelligence people. So there's some people saying that he didn't actually die. He was moved, and they found a body that looked enough like him to transport him out into public eye, and they have him secreted away, spilling his guts.
was he actually dead on the stretcher?
Well, but the thing is,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I saw a thing on this here within a week after he died. First off, they had video footage of them moving the stretcher out, which they never do. Not only did they have video footage, but the body was uncovered, and they had pictures zoomed in on the person's face. And they put a side-by-side comparison of a living picture of Epstein and this person. The ear was different, the bridge of the nose, the person on that gurney looked, to the naked eye, looked, but when you start looking at all the comparisons.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. When
Yeah.
they brought the body out, was that actually Epstein? Okay.
Yeah, there's just, it's so shady, there's so many
well,
things.
when they start showing stuff like that, that's an obvious attempt to cover up what really happened, okay?
Mhm.
And what really happened was Epstein was snuck out the back door while all the people were focused on that stretcher and the body and partial facial being exposed and all that. All the news media was focused on that because this is the first time this has ever happened. What a scoop! We were there, we got the scoop! We got the scoop, the poop, man, okay?
Scoop it up. I just read something on the internet. I'm gonna let you read it. Where'd it go? Oh,
You go ahead and read it. My voice is failing.
I lost it.
Oh, he lost it.
Oh,
He'll find it.
no, I don't think I will.
Think positive. Remember, think positive, and good things will happen. And so,
Oh, it's gone. I should have read it when I had a chance. Nope, it's gone.
next game is Spin the Trumpet. Does anyone else recall one day after Jeffrey's suicide, the fog of issue over the two ambulances that both left with one Epstein body? I forgot about the two ambulances.
Oh yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah. Well, they needed an ambulance to put the other Epstein body in there. And so, why don't you open the door and let Booger in, since Mother is taking a vacation again. She is under the weather, and it looks like I gotta call a doctor in the morning. Okay, Booger, now you settle down. So, well, folks, it is 2 minutes to 7. I need a couple minutes to get my voice to calm down. So, we're going to take a break. Unfortunately, again, I have not been able to figure out how to get the music working, but someday we'll figure that out. Okay, we'll see you in a couple. Okay, guys, I's back. My guard dog is here. Scotty had to leave, and Mr. T couldn't make it up tonight. Mother's not doing good, so tomorrow I'm going to have to call the doctor, and I guess I'm going to have to push to put her back in the hospital again. Just doesn't seem, the medicine just does not seem to be working the way it's supposed to. Whether the dosages are too small or what, I don't know, but I'll get 4 or 5 hours of near normalcy from her, and then the next thing I know, she's back in bed, not wanting to eat and all that kind of stuff. So, anyway, I will have to take care of that problem tomorrow, and I know there's only about 10 of you watching, but I am really, really getting desperate for some financial help out there. I have now fallen officially $2,500 behind on my property tax. I have managed to pay $500 of it. I probably wouldn't know so much if it wasn't for the fact that every time Mom goes to the hospital, it costs me $95 to the emergency room, and she's been there about 10 or 11 times this year, maybe more. I kind of forgot, lost count. So, if you can, any of you out there feel you can make a much-needed donation, I'd appreciate it. My address here is Braveheart Radio, 9931 Williamson Road, Meadville, Pennsylvania. Occupied zone number 16335. Again, that's Braveheart Radio, 9931 Williamson Road, Meadville, Pennsylvania. Occupied zone number 16335. And I know this is a bad time of year to ask for some help, but unfortunately I'm getting to that point. So anyway, getting back to what's going on here, again, this next month in December I will be up at the Harbor Creek Fire Hall for a gun show. That's been part of my problem. The gun shows have not been that lucrative this fall. So any money that I have been making has been going for paying doctor bills and medicine bills and for the wife. So that's kind of set me behind the 8 balls. Hopefully next year in January they'll be a little better, but I don't know. Anyhow, next year I will be putting 3 shows on, and hopefully Mom will get straightened around. Won't have to spend all the money that I'm taking in on drugs or medical bills. And yeah, drone targeting code 16335. Yeah, that's Mr. T's. No, that was Mike, and then Mr. T had the sound of a chopper coming in or whatever. Okay, in case you folks have not figured it out, whoops. If you haven't figured it out, I got a story here. It's, let's see, off of WorldNet Daily, and I pulled this up on the 23rd, that was yesterday. Brand new civil war lies on us like a sleeping dragon. This is by Chuck Norris. I've been on the planet for over 7 decades. I was a teen during the second Red Scare of the communism in the 1950s. I lost a brother in the Vietnam War and visited President and Mrs. Reagan at the White House before he delivered a death blow to the Cold War by toppling the Berlin Wall 30 years ago. through all those decades, I have watched our nation become more and more divided and more concerned about it today than ever before. Liberal progressives blame President Trump for the decisiveness, but they are at the very least equal to blame in their revengeful reciprocity. I wrote articles about even former President Obama's particular prowess and personalities for inciting strategic division. Division isn't new, but it is increasing. Today, most mainstream media and pundits are more polarized than Santa's new home at the South Pole. The First Amendment has turned into a license for cruelty where it has been completely ignored and replaced with stiffening hate language laws. Free speech and blogging have morphed into virtual and vengeance, and younger generations are watching them mirroring what they see as they increasingly take up arms against their peers, and we wonder why. And considering the there ain't nobody there. That's just the wind. Yeah, you lay down. Okay, where was I? I lost my place, folks. That happens to me all the time. Oh, and considering the polarities in Washington D.C. right now, as congressional Democrats try to find the grounds to impeach President Trump, have you ever seen such a disunified three-ring circus in all your life? The state of our union, as far as civility, is not good. The truth is our nation hasn't been this divided since the Civil War or before the Civil War. In fact, for many history buffs, these days are reminiscent of those years prior to 1861, when politics were polarized, paranoia was commonplace, conspiracy theories ran rampant. There were many parallel schemes to our time, but just packaged differently. To support my premise, I must cite at length Dr. David Blight, professor of American history at Yale University and another of Race and Reunion, the Civil War in America's Memory. His commentary struck me with a sense of foreboding. Consider a summary of the parallel then and now. Okay, before I start that, get myself. I have to take. Lena, you lay down. I have to take and catch my breath. I'm breathing too much, not exchanging enough oxygen. Okay. All parallels are unsteady or untrustworthy, but the present is always embedded in the past. The 1850s, the fateful decade that led to the Civil War, has many instructive lessons for us. Definitions of American nationalism, of just who was a true American. We're in constant debate. After the Great Hunger in Ireland, the U.S. experienced an unprecedented immigration wave between 1845 and the mid-1850s, prompting a rapid and more powerful rise of nationalism. Irish and German Catholics were unwelcome and worse. The Mexican War of 1846 and 48, the nation's first expansionist foreign conflicts, stimulated an explosive political struggle over the expansion of slavery, the Fugitive Act of 1850. Okay, let's see. The Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 caused a wave of refugee former slaves escaping the North states into Canada, as well as a widespread crisis over violent rescues of fugitive slaves. Indeed, the constant flight of slaves from the south, slaves from the south to free states was, in effect, America's first great refugee crisis. The abolition movement, the country's reform crusade, became increasingly politicized as it became more radical, extra length, and violence. There goes my voice again, folks. Just a second here. Okay. At every turn in the decade, Americans had to ask whether their institutions would last. The two major political parties, the Whigs and Democrats, either disintegrated or broke into sectional parts, North and South, over slavery. Third parties suddenly emerged with success like no other time in our history. First, the Know Nothings or American Party, whose xenophobia and anti-Catholicism got them elected in droves in New England in the early 1850s. The most powerful and the most successful party in our history, the Republicans, were both in direct resistance to the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854, championed by the Democrats, and which opened up the western territories to potential expansionism of slavery, and a succession of weak and pro-slavery presidents from 1844 through 1860 either tarnished the institution of the presidency or deepened the sectionalization and partisan divide. In 1857, the Supreme Court weighed in by declaring in Dred Scott Sanford that blacks are not and could never be citizens of the U.S. They had, wrote Chief Justice Robert B. Taney, for more than a century being regarded as beings of an inferior order, so far inferior that they had no rights which the white man was bound to respect. This most notorious court decision legally opened up all the West, and for that matter all the North, to the presence of slavery. So discredited was the Supreme Court among many Northerners in the wake of the decision that the Republicans made resistance to the judiciary and rallying cry of their political insurgency. That impulse led to the election of Lincoln in 1861, interrupted by most Southern slaveholders who firmly controlled the region's policies. As primary impulse to succeed from the Union, they believed they could not coexist in a nation now led by a political organization devoted to their destruction. By the time of the sectionalization and polarization election of 1860, conducted in a climate of violence and anger caused by John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry in 1859, North and South had developed broad-based mutual conspiracy theories of each other. They did so through a thriving and highly partisan press in both daily and weekly newspapers. Both sides tend to have their own set of facts and their own conception of both history and the Constitution. I gotta take another break. Unfortunately, my voice is killing me, or dying on me, and part of that's because when I have to read a lot because of how much oxygen is pumped by my heart. It's not that I don't have good oxygen exchange rate. It is running about 98%, but where it fails is the amount of blood being pumped. I'm somewhere between 30 and 35%, and most people are in the upper ranges of 60 to 75%. So that makes it so that they can talk forever and not get fatigued. And so, anyway. Yeah, long live the Republic. And while I'm resting my breath, I will look something up here. I wanted to. It's part of a text out of the Constitution. Now that I want to find it, it won't come in the line. Well, folks, I wasn't able to find it, so hopefully I got enough air in me now. I can go again for a while. There's more that could be quoted from Dr. Blight, but doesn't his above commentary sound and feel eerie familiar today? He concluded, the Civil War lies on us like a sleeping dragon. It is America's deadly divide, and it has returned. We are concerned for the spark that sets the Middle East World War III. Maybe we should be equally concerned for the sparks that set off a second civil war in our own country. Maybe we should read the tea leaves of polarity and return to a more civil time. Most Americans used to be able to agree to disagree agreeably. Now there is little tolerance and love, if any, for opposition, but only encampments that raise the bar of their righteousness over others. Yeah, I got a page stuck here. I don't know if I'm going to read this whole story because it is kind of long. Okay, so I don't think it is coincidence that we are commemorating the 156th anniversary of Gettysburg, addressed by President Abraham Lincoln, on the eve before the day when congressional Democrats are about to bring to the stand their kingpin witness, Gordon Sondland, the U.S. ambassador to the European Union, who Democrats say had a starring role in President Trump's anti-Biden crusade in Ukraine. What are the odds the 156th anniversary of President Lincoln's Gettysburg Address falls during this week of pinnacle impeachment testimony? Are the words of Lincoln crying out from the grave to our divided union? As congressional division reaches its zenith this week, I think a perfect time to reflect again upon those poignant words of a fractured, hurting nation from the great Abraham Lincoln. Before I cite his words, however, I just want to say that we are so geared for division in these modern times that I bet my mere mention of Lincoln's name sparked some debate in the minds of many of the readers, as some find him a saint while others a sinner. I even had a few issues with President Lincoln, but that doesn't stop me from seeing what he contributed to bringing unity to the fractured, warring nation. True, his Gettysburg Address was criticized and has not always been well received by many, but in it lie the seeds of civility and powerful reminder for learning the lessons of history and division before it's too late and more lives are lost over passionate opinions and convictions. I see somebody's not a fan of Chuck Norris. Okay, well that's fine. I'm not gonna say who, but anyway. Lincoln's Gettysburg Address will send chills up my spine when I consider the utter carnage that occurred in the great Civil War battlefield. Over the course of 3 days, more than 45,000 men were killed, injured, captured, or went missing. Regardless of what version of copy of the address you accept as most accurate, consider again this powerful speech that contained only 10 sentences in length and a total of 272 words. Okay, on November 19th, 1863, at the official dedication ceremony of the National Cemetery of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania, on the site of one of the bloodiest and most decisive battles of the Civil War, Lincoln said these words: 407 years ago, our forefathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on the great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives, that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this, but in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot concentrate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here had consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated to the unfinished work which they fought here, have thus so far nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here, dedicated to the great task remaining before us. That form these honor-bound men, we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave their last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, one God, shall have a new birth of freedom. This nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from this earth. And of 3 days, more than 45,000 men were killed, injured, captured, went missing, regardless of what version. Okay. This must be a repeat. Yep, it's a repeat. So we're almost done. All right. Have died today. Whether you think of her politics, Joe Cox, a British Labour Party Polish politician, hit the proverbial nail on the head for Brits as well as Americans. We have far more in common than that divides us, and maybe it's high time we start acting like it. Friends, I am deeply concerned about the escalation of extreme partisanship and divisionness in our country. I am also deeply concerned that if we forget the past, don't quickly learn from it, and refocus our attention on things that unite us rather than divide us, we might sooner than later hit the point of no return. Are we there already? Okay. Those are words by Chuck Norris. Whether Chuck Norris is a fan of yours or whether you think he's a whatever, he has some valid points. Very valid points. And we are forgetting what unites us, and letting it be our attention being turned from what's uniting us to what's dividing us. And I'm afraid it's the divisions that are coming out that is dividing us. And maybe I'm as guilty of that as anybody else, because I have my opinions about certain things that should be going on. But I do believe that we should protect the Constitution of the United States, because it's the best document that man has ever come up with so far. And until somebody can come along with a better document, which I don't seem to be anybody coming out with or even attempting to do, it's our guidelines for our government. It's also a list of rights for our people. And just because they're not specified in there does not mean, it does not to be construed that we don't have those rights. Now, as much as I don't like homosexuals, as much as I don't like the transgenderism and all that kind of stuff, if that's the way they want to be, that's fine. That's their business, but not in public where it's flaunting in front of my face. You want to be a gay wad, then keep it in your own apartment, okay? If you want to be a transgender, I'm sorry. If you got a pair dangling between your legs, you're a boy. You go to the boys' restroom, and that. So I don't need to go into details for all the rest of them, but that's the point of view. That's where everything lies. People have the right to be what they want to be, but you do not have the right to offend others and force them to accept your ways. And so that's right, cannabis. The Constitution is not at fault. It is us that failed it. That's right. And those of us that are out there, there are those out there that are trying to defend it. If you've been paying attention to this program for years, you know I'm a firm believer in our Constitution, and that if we don't protect it, Layla, you just go settle down now. You can't go out until I'm done. If we don't protect it, we'll go into a state of anarchy. And when we go into a state of anarchy, who wins? The devil wins, or his minions win, which would be communism for one, or some sort of the isms that are out there. Nazism, communism, whatever you want to call them. They will be the winners, not us. So we have to unite and show support behind the Constitution, and we do have to, I do think we need to put term limits in, but as long as we keep sending lawyers down there, we won't get them. Okay? So what we have to do is we have to dig out the original 13th Amendment that forbade lawyers from running for public office. It was passed or ratified by the proper number of states at the time, which I think was 13, but it didn't quite make it back to Washington by the deadline date, so um, the I know, Bob, you're quoting what I said. We reserve the right to offend the offendee, but that is true. But it does not mean we have to be forced to accept sin. Okay. There are certain things that yes you can do, but there are certain things that you shouldn't be forced to do. And that is to openly accept sin. And EST offends me, whatever EST is. Bark! Bark! Woof! Oh, G.I. Joseph put that on there, so anyhow. Anyway, yeah, we have to start being, in exercising our constitutional rights, we have to start being more aware of what the representatives that we send to government entities, regardless whether it's local or national or state or whatever. We have to be more aware of what their policies are, and we have to take it upon ourselves to keep these assholes from going back in. And we need to put, we the people, need to put a 2-term limit on all these representatives and senators. Sorry guys, you got two terms, you're out. You cannot run again. Doesn't need a constitutional amendment to do that. It just means that the people, us, we, all of you, need to go out there and stop voting for incumbents in office. There's absolutely no reason why we have congressmen that have been down in Washington for 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years. It's our fault for allowing that to happen. And you see what we're reaping. We're reaping the possible destruction of our own country because people in this country were too lazy to, number one, we all have the right to vote. But you look at the number of people that are registered to vote as to how many people come and vote or go and vote. Now I understand occasionally something comes up where you can't get to the polls and vote. I understand that. And you don't know it's coming up, so you don't have time to get an absentee ballot. I understand that. That happened to me this year. I had to deal with Kathy. I can't leave her. When she gets like she is right now, I can't leave her alone. And not that she's harmful, but if I leave her alone, she won't eat, she won't go to the bathroom, and sometimes I can't get her to take her medicine. So that's why I have to stay with her to make sure things happen. That's also why I believe she's going to be going back to the hospital here tomorrow, and that because I need a break. We've been married for 47 years, and the last 2.5 years have been physically beating me up and killing me. And yeah, I know cannabis, there are no good candidates. That's because we do not go and, how do I say, because we don't go and participate in the, when they have their little speechify and stuff. We let somebody else do it. I know we have to work, we have to do this, we have to do that, so we can't always go. But You need to be able to go, when there's, they don't do it now, but years ago they used to have, around here anyway, Phil English, who was our representative, and Arlen Spinkler, used to have town meetings in which they would come and talk to the people face to face. And the people had a chance to talk to them. And there are several occasions, not that I'm bragging, there are several occasions that I pinned their ears back, caught them off guard. Where's Mike? John Smith. I haven't seen your name on there for a long time. Is it possible that you don't know that Mike passed away? If that is the case, John Smith, yeah, that's what happened. Mike passed away. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. I'm not doing a very good job of it, but it's the best I can do when I don't have somebody that I can bounce off. Mike and I had a special a special connection here, and so consequently I didn't. I'm trying to break in a couple people, but it takes a long time to build that chemistry. So anyway, yeah, okay. I see that the people in the chat room are informing you that Mike passed away. Yeah, we're all sorry, but life must go on, and the war to save the Republic must continue to hopefully save it without bloodshed. Even though I hope that would work that way, I don't foresee that happening, because we have too many commies that want our guns. And I'm just going to tell you that that's what it is. Too many commies want our guns. And once they get our guns, there is nothing left that the people have to be able to stop them from imposing whatever things they want to do. And by the way, if you understand what democracy is when you have two mules and a sheep voting over what's going to be for dinner. Okay? This is oversimplification, but this is the way it works. Two mules and a sheep debating over who's going to be for dinner. Now, that means the two mules are going to vote for the sheep. So the sheep's going to be the dinner. But under a Republican form of government, especially a constitutional form of government, constitutional Republican form of government, I'll get it out right yet. Even though the vote might have been 2-1, the sheep would have still been saved because it was in violation of his rights. Like I said, it's oversimplification, but that's about the best I can do. Democracy is not what we are, and it's not what we want, because 51% of the vote can take away your rights. And so, yeah, Mike fought this war for over 20 years and gave his life for the country. Yep. Okay, so, okay guys, let's see. I got about 18 minutes left, and I have one story left. Yeah, I was kind of saving this one for last. I want you to pay particular attention because this is happening in more places than one. And if you think you own your property, don't pay your taxes. Okay? All right. This is off of WorldNet Daily. County seizes 83-year-old man 83-year-old retiree home for an $8.41 debt on that daily. An 83-year-old Michigan man is fighting for his livelihood after his county government seized and sold his house over a debt of $8.41 he owed the state. Yuri Raphael bought a house in Southfield, Michigan in 2011, fixing up the property and turning it into a rental, according to Fox News. Less than 3 years later, Oakland County seized the house and sold it at an auction for $24,500. Raphael had bought the house for $60,000. Raphael's misfortune is the result of Michigan's property law that allows the state to sell houses with unpaid property tax. Now Raphael's case is before the Michigan Supreme Court. Christina Martin, a lawyer with the nonprofit Pacific Legal Foundation, is representing the 83-year-old in the case. Martin has argued that the county's auctions are unconstitutional. The judge at the Michigan Supreme Court argument last week. You have a situation where a person owed $8 and lost the house. I mean, how is that equitable? Oh wait, we know this one. It isn't. The Fifth Amendment taking clause states that private property shall not be taken for public use without just compensation. Oakland County had offered Raphael no compensation for seizing his house, which is now estimated to be worth $120,000, according to Fox News. When the government takes property to settle a debt, they have to give the extra money they make back to you, Martin told the network. It doesn't matter what law Michigan passes, they have the constitutional obligation to pay back any more than they are owed. Raphael's trouble is the state. Raphael's trouble with the state was the result of a simple calculation. The county had notified him he had unpaid 2011 property tax by $496. After that, Raphael paid his taxes on time and tried to repay the debt in 2013. Since the interest calculations were off, however, he ended up $8.41 short, while Oakland County sent notice to Raphael's rental property and other Michigan address multiple times. Raphael never received them as he had moved out of state. In 2014, the county seized and sold the property without Raphael even knowing. He would only discover that his house had been sold when he stopped receiving rent payments from his tenant. You shouldn't have relied on mercy of the tax collector to have your constitutional rights protected, Martin said. No amount of mail should allow the government to steal your property. Oakland County's lawyer contested Martin's claim of unconstitutionality. When the taxpayer relinquishes property by failing to pay back taxes and failing to redeem the property before auction, the taxpayer no longer possesses an interest for the government to take, they wrote in the legal proof. But tax collections are not the taking of private property for public use in constitutional case sense. In an oral argument, both the court, County Attorney John Brush argued that the precedent of repaying property owners for seized property could eventually bankrupt the county. Bullshit. You took in the extra money. Justice Richard Bernstein expressed skepticism of the government in his response. The interpretation you gave was very dramatic. That is going to end schools and counties are going to crumble and society is going to implode, Bernstein said. You have a situation where people owed $8, they lost their home, their house. I mean, how is that equitable? Raphael's case will be decided before the end of July 2020, according to Fox. According to Foxy News. Okay, I guess that's it. Oh no, I do have another story, but let's digest this one for a minute. The guy owed $8.41, and it was a mixed calculation on interest by the state tax collector or treasurer or auditor or whoever it is that fills out these statements. Worst case scenario, if they sold that house for $24,500, then he is owed $24,491. The fact that the matter that the county is pocketing that has nothing to do with seizing or the collapse of the county, because that is money they didn't have and they would have gone on without it. So the argument by the defense lawyer is bullshit, fabrication, and what do we call that? I just played one too many fantasy games, I guess. Yeah, whoops, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button here. Let's bring this back up so I can see what's going on. Let's see, where was I? Oh, yeah, getting back to his dilemma. It just shows you that how crooked the government has gotten. This should never have gotten to this point. For $8.40, they should have sent him a registered letter, because I'm pretty sure he left a forwarding address somewhere, because the tax bills should have probably been getting to him, and the notices were going to the address of the house in question, which the renters were in. They don't know nothing. So anyway, it's a crooked scheme on the form of property tax, and if that doesn't start a civil war here soon, it's going to, because the seniors that are out there like me who lost a large chunk of our income due to illness, and who are on a fixed income, and I know they say, well, that's fine. I get $406 a month from Social Security after they take out $135 for my Medicare. Okay, the last two raises that I got on Social Security, which was I believe 2.6 and 2.8, ended up all going to Medicare, and I gained nothing. I've been getting $406 for the last 4 years. Now, this year, if I get it, I will get 2.8 increase, because they haven't said anything about paying it out to Social Security. Yes, doggy, in a few minutes we'll be going up to the house. Okay, if I've got it figured out right, I will get $14 increase in my Social Security. Okay, that is $156. My property tax went up last year, and they're talking about another one this year. My property tax went up by pretty near $150. So, just on property tax alone, not including inflation or anything like that, I am only going to see about $6 increase in my Social Security check. My wife and I are living on $1,121. So with hers and mine, we will probably see about $33 a month, roughly speaking. So, everything goes up except our wages. My wife gets a retirement check from Channel Lock, but that doesn't go up. It does not have an inflation clause. It just does not go up. So, that's why they say people are on a fixed income can't afford this stuff. We can't. Because inflation runs 2%, and taxes go up by $150. We've already fallen back behind again on our income. Our spending level has become less. So, anyhow, we got 5 minutes. I don't think I'm going to bother doing that story because I took too long, but it's a fun one. I'll try to save for when we come back. Don't forget, we will not be here next Sunday night. So, because of Thanksgiving, and so we won't be here, no show. Hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving, and my family could, Braveheart Radio could use some financial help to get me over this hump with the taxes. They seem to be getting bigger and bigger every year, a problem for me to handle. So, on that note, according to my time clock here, we have ate up our 2 hours. So, let me say thank you, folks, for tuning in, and again, have a happy Thanksgiving. Hopefully the storm don't hit too bad, and sing me a piece of pumpkin pie. Okay, folks, on that note, I'm going to say goodbye. We will see you in 2 weeks, Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise. Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.